Why so many tattoos, old man? Did you run out of paper, or did you just lose a lot of bets in port? The questions snapped through the briefing room like a spark in a powder keg. A few recruits snickered, but beneath the fluorescent lights of the Naval Special Warfare Center, that single sentence hit harder than a flashbang. The voice came from the back row, Enan Miller, 23, built like he'd been custom printed out of a military catalog. His uniform was crisp, muscles pressed against the sleeves like they were trying to escape. Fresh out of Bud S, top of his class, confidence sharp as a blade. And at the front of the room stood the man he was mocking. Elias, 60 years old, thin hair, weather-beaten face carved by time and storms, a plain black t-shirt revealing arms wrapped in chaotic, faded ink, the kind of ink that looked less like art and more like a history no one wanted to remember. To the recruits, he looked like a stray biker who walked onto base by mistake. But predators don't wear signs. Some of the world's most dangerous men are wrapped in skin that hides a lifetime of ghosts. The air conditioning hummed low, pushing an unnatural cold through the room, as if the temperature dipped with the pressure forming between youth and experience. Elias didn't react. He didn't smirk. He didn't scowl. He simply lifted his coffee, took a slow sip, and stared at Miller with eyes as flat and gray as stormlit ocean water. Eyes of a man who had seen something past fear and kept moving anyway. Wait, before I continue, answer this in the comments. What would you do in this situation? The moment stretched. Chuckles died. Even Miller's grin faltered. You like the artwork, son, Elias finally said, his voice low and gravelly, like memory scraping bone. Miller shrugged, leaning back with the arrogance of the unbeaten. Just curious, we usually keep it professional. That looks chaotic, like a scrapbook someone dropped in a fire. A few recruits snorted quietly. Elias moved, not quickly, not dramatically, but with the silent gravity of someone who carried entire wars in his bones. He stepped away from the podium and walked down the aisle between the recruits, his limp noticeable now, his skin revealing more scars the closer he got. Not scars from accidents. Scars from survival. Chaotic, Elias repeated. That's a good word. He stopped in front of Miller, their faces inches apart. You boys train for structure, for plans, for predictable outcomes, but war, he tilted his head. War is chaos wearing teeth. Miller's posture stiffened. Something in those stone-cold eyes stripped the bravado right off him. You want to know why I have so many tattoos? Elias asked softly. He pulled his sleeve up, pointing at a jagged black line wrapping around his forearm, crude and uneven. You see this one, looks like a mistake, doesn't it? Miller swallowed. Yeah, what is it? A river of blood, Elias said. The room froze. 1989, Operation Just Cause, Panama. We were told the airfield was lightly guarded. Intel lied. We landed in a killing ground. My swim buddy, Joey, took a round to the femoral artery 30 seconds in. The recruits didn't blink. Hold on, don't just watch. Type the first word that came to your mind after seeing this part. I dragged him behind a jet, put a tourniquet on him, machine gun fire everywhere, no cover, trapped for hours. He stayed alive because he refused to die scared. Elias tapped the tattoo. I drew this line 3 days later. It traces the path Joey's blood took across the tarmac. I inked it so I never forget what pain looks like when you refuse to quit. The room was silent enough to hear heartbeats. Elias rolled up his other sleeve, revealing 3 crude stars. These, you think they're decorative. Maybe I wanted to look like a general. Dead silence. Mogadishu, 1993. A few recruits sucked in a breath. That word carried weight, a graveyard of legends. We weren't supposed to be in the main fight, but when the birds went down, everything changed. Streets turned into hell. Bullets came from every direction. No water, no ammo, no promises. He pointed at the stars. 3 men in my squad didn't make it home. I carved these over the shrapnel scars I took pulling a ranger out of a burning Humvee. The pain in this arm never goes away. It screams when I lift anything heavy." He smiled faintly, a smile with no joy. "I'm glad it hurts. Pain means I'm still here. They're not." He stepped back, voice rising, filling every corner of the room with a force far greater than any lecture. "You see old skin and faded tattoos. You see gray hair. You ask why so many tattoos." He held out his arms. "These aren't decorations. These are receipts, proof I came home when others didn't." No one moved. He pointed to another mark on his wrist. "Afghanistan, 2002, the Taku Mountains, no drones, no comms, just 6 of us hunting ghosts in the snow, 12 days, no food after day 4, the air so thin it felt like dying with every breath." He traced the constellation, inked, onto his skin. "Orion, the only star I could see while waiting 48 hours for a sniper to make one mistake." The room no longer felt cold, it felt heavy. Elias turned to Miller, who looked like the floor might swallow him. "You have clean skin, Enon. You know tactics, but you don't know weight, not yet." The steel door banged open. Commander Vance walked in full dress whites, the presence of a man carved from medals and storms. The recruits shot to their feet. But Vance didn't look at them. He looked at Elias. The expression that crossed the commander's face wasn't casual. It wasn't friendly. It was reverence. "Real viewers only. Comment yes or no. I want to see who's actually paying attention." "Elias," Vance said, shaking his hand like he was greeting a living artifact. "I wasn't sure you'd actually come." Elias nodded. Vance turned to the recruits. "Gentlemen, you're looking at the man who built the survival program you're studying. A legend, one of the few men alive awarded the Navy Cross twice." A collective gasp. Elias didn't look proud. He looked tired. Vance stepped aside, as if yielding the entire room. And Elias stepped forward again. "Stand up, son," he told Miller quietly. Miller stood, trembling. "You judged me by ink," Elias said. "Don't make that mistake again. In this world, judging the wrong person gets you killed." He rolled down his sleeves, hiding history, hiding ghosts, and whispered, "You want the real reason I have so many tattoos. It's to cover the parts of me that are missing." The class didn't move. No one breathed. "Now open your notebooks," Elias said. "Time to learn how to survive when the world wants you dead." The recruits didn't open their notebooks because they were told to. They opened them because, for the first time in their lives, fear and respect shared the same seat inside their chest. Elias didn't need a screen. He didn't need tech. He didn't even need heat in his voice. His words alone turned the room into a battlefield. For 3 hours, he spoke like a man peeling back the skin of memory, every story sharper than the last. No bravado. No ego. Just truths dipped in blood. He told them what thirst really feels like, when lips split, vision blurs, and hallucinations whisper to you like old friends trying to drag you into the dark. He told them about hiding inside a sewage pipe for 13 hours while enemy patrols walked inches above his skull, their boots clacking like death's knuckles. He told them what it's like to be hunted. Not chased. Hunted. How silence becomes your only ally. How breathing too loudly becomes betrayal. How loneliness becomes a living creature that crawls beside you, whispering doubts into your ear. As Elias moved, the scars on his arms shifted, the tattoos swirled, the ink seemed alive like the ghosts inside them were being stirred awake. By the time he finished speaking, the recruits weren't sitting in a classroom anymore. They were standing at the edge of hell, staring at the man who walked through it and came back with nothing but ink to cover the damage. The bell rang for dismissal. Nobody moved. Elias simply gathered his battered notebook, the one that looked like it, had been drowned more times than he could count. He took one last sip of his cold coffee and started walking toward the exit. The moment he reached the aisle, Miller bolted up, stumbling to catch him. "Master Chief, Elias, sir, wait." Elias stopped, turned, waited. Miller swallowed hard. His arrogance was gone. His voice shook with something real. "Thank you," he said, eyes burning with shame and newfound respect. I'll never judge someone like that again, I promise." Elias took his hand. His grip was iron. Unforgiving. Unbreakable. "Quick challenge, describe this moment in one emoji. Let's see what you pick." "Fire." He pulled Miller slightly closer. "Don't worry about judging the book," Elias said softly. "Just worry about the story you're going to write." He tapped Miller's clean forearm. "And if you're lucky, maybe you'll keep your canvas clean longer than I did." A small smile touched Elias' lips. The smile of a man who had bled enough for 10 lifetimes and somehow survived them all. "It hurts like hell when it rains," he whispered, winking as he stepped away. Miller stood frozen as Elias walked out into the bright California sun, a sun that felt too clean, too pure, for a man who had lived in shadows so long. The recruits didn't move for almost a minute. Some swallowed hard. Some rubbed their arms unconsciously, as if imagining their own future scars. Some blinked back the sting in their eyes. But all of them felt it. For the first time in their lives, they understood what respect truly meant. Not loud, not proud, not for show. Respect is quiet, heavy, earned in places no camera will ever see. They had walked into that room believing they were apex predators. They walked out realizing they were cubs, lucky enough to have met the lion instead of becoming prey. And before they left, each one looked down at his own unmarked arms. Clean canvases. "For now," Elias' words echoed in their heads. "You will get marked, maybe not with ink, but you will get marked." Later, when the sun dipped behind the Pacific and the day came to a close, the recruits understood something they had never understood before. Freedom isn't free. It's purchased in ink, in scars, in blood, by men like Elias. I'm watching your comments right now. Tell me, should I continue the story or stop here? So the next time you see an old veteran with fading tattoos, don't stare. Don't judge. Nod. Say thank you. Because every one of those marks is a receipt for the life you're living. And if you stand with veterans, and if you believe true strength is silent, hit subscribe. Share this story. Honor the old guard who walked through hell so you don't have to. Wait. Right now in the comments. One word. What did this story just make you feel? G.O. I'm reading every single one. 1 second pause. Type ghost if you got chills. Type respect if you're standing a little taller today. Do it now. Let's flood this comment section with American pride. Your turn. Comment fast.